So today we're going to tackle something called conditional logic. So we're going to see how code makes decisions. So you've heard about agentic AI. You've heard about we have agents that can be able to execute tasks on their own. We're not going to talk about agentic AI today. We're not going to talk about anything that deals with AI, but today we're going to start from a very, I can say primitive point, or just want to show some basic ways that we can use our code to make decisions. An example, if you go out, you've carried an umbrella and you're expecting probably that there will be rain. You've carried your umbrella. If the rain starts, right, you will take your umbrella, open it, and cover yourself from the rain. If the rain stops, you of course close your umbrella and put it in the place that, in a storage place, or carry it. So the same way that we deal with code, we can also make decisions using code, and you can now with time understand the evolution of where did we start up to where we are with agentic AI. So we're starting with what is called basic rules, trying to use conditional logic to categorize data to make some business rules, up to the point that now we are having autonomous agents which are making decisions on their own. So let's start. So as I said, we are going to start with conditional logic. So when you see this flowchart here, you see that we're talking about cells, and here we're talking about 20,000. We're talking about, this is the baseline. This is what is called the baseline. So we want to say, if the cells are greater than 20,000, then we want to say that today we've had a very high performance. But if the cells, if no, then we ask, are the cells greater than 10,000? Then we say, yes, it is on target. Then anything else apart from that needs review. So the first one that we started with the baseline. We say that the baseline here is 20,000. And we say that anything above 20,000, we print high performance. Anything below 20,000 and above 10,000, we say that it is on target. But anything below that, we say that that will need review. So when we go to Python, this is how the code will look like. So we say that if the cells did go over 20,000, so you see if cells greater than 20,000, print high performance. elif, and you need to note this is called the Python syntax. This is called the Python syntax. So you see here, Python is very sensitive to what is called indentation. So if this is where the line starts, so you need to say if cells greater than 20,000, then you need to put a colon there. Okay, then you come to the second line and go forward one tab. So this is where you need to put, so you need to put your print here. So you need to print, whatever you put inside here. Then you leave it like that. You do not put any semicolon, or any colon. So you go to the second condition. So this is the first condition. And the second condition, we will not repeat if. There is another word for it. You said if. In other programming languages, you might find that you can even write else if, but in Python, you do write elif. Cells is greater than 10,000. 10,000, you put the colon again. You come to the second line and indent it again to one tab and say print. And you remember, print, you're supposed to put, if it is words or a sentence that you're trying to print, you're supposed to put it inside those quotation marks. So you put it here on target. Then the last one. So if you have other conditions, you will continue and say elif blah blah. Then you continue. But the last one, when you come to the last one, you say else. So we are talking about anything else. So you also go to that line, one tab forward, then you say print. Now needs review. So here we are talking about, look at this logic. When you say that if the cells are 20,000, today's cells are 20,000, It doesn't matter. It can be 100,000, can be a million, can be, whatever it can go to. So if it is greater than 20,000, but if it is less than 20,000, but greater than 10,000, then we say that that is on target. So here we're talking about between 10,000 and 20,000. So we say that this condition, we are going to say that this condition is on target. We're going to say that this condition is on target. So when you look at these two conditions, if it is greater than 20,000 or whatever it is, and between 10,000 and 20,000, so anything else. And when you talk about anything else here, we're talking about anything under 10,000. So we do not need to say elif greater than. You can actually. The last one is any other condition that we have here will always be less than 10,000. Whatever remains after we've talked about over 20,000, between 10,000 and 20,000, anything that remains will always be less than 10,000. So we do not need to write anything. So we just put here else, we put a colon. Then we go again, tab and print and say needs review. So basically, that is how conditional logic works. It is the simple rules that we do make in life. And as I said earlier, even in previous videos that I have made, I'll say that when you're dealing with Python or even programming, it's about logic. It's just about the simple English. So we're just trying to turn whatever we always do in our day-to-day lives into codified language. Sometimes we call it pseudocodes. We write pseudocodes, then we transform it into code. So whatever you've seen here is just about condition. So think about any condition or anything that you do in your life, right? If I wake up before 5, this is what I'm going to do. If I wake up after 5 a.m. in the morning, this is what I'm going to do. If I do not manage to finish my assignments in time, then this is what I'll do. And if I manage to finish, then I can be able to do something else. So life is all about rules, and these rules can be codified as you've seen. So let's jump to the code so I can be able to show you a few lines of code using Python. We're going to start with conditional logic. Whatever you're seeing in your screen right now, so we have this, but I'm going to type it one by one. So monthly revenue is 18,500. This is a variable, and the variable carries this, which is a revenue, and it is 18,500. Which data type is that? On top of your head, that is an integer. So if I print here monthly revenue, that is there. This is what you see. This is what you get. You get 18,500 because that variable already holds this value here. So let's now go to the basic else, if else statements that we just discussed about. So we say that if the monthly revenue is greater than 20,000, then the status would be high performance. And if it is less than 20,000 and greater than 10,000, then the status would be on target. But if it is anything else, then it means that it needs review. So here we have monthly revenue of 18,500. So we want to see, once we execute this code, what will it give us? So what you're saying that we start with if, and you say that monthly revenue is greater than 20,000. So those are the business rules. Then we say that print this will be high performance. There you go. And I say that you have to be cognizant of the indentation. So after here, I did put after that, actually even Python itself, the editor that you're using will already show you. So when you click next, it is expecting you to write something else under that, probably print something else. But no, we want to highlight another condition. And this other condition that we are talking about is elif. So you have your cursor where it is, so you need to go back. You need to go back and now write the next condition. And we say that we said elif monthly revenue is greater than 10,000. We put a colon there, then you print on target. Then we said now we have the last condition. The last condition is about anything else. If you want to put another condition, you can put another condition, and you can even say elif monthly revenue is greater than 5,000. Just write, sorry, print below target. So in elif statements, you need to have the last closing condition about anything else. So it needs to be captured. And in this anything else, you just say else. And you put your column there, you do that, and you just print needs review. Congratulations, you've built your first else if statement or if else statement. So now we have our monthly revenue at 18,500. So what do you think will be shown here? Because we're saying if the monthly revenue is greater than 20,000, then it will print high performance. But if it is greater than 10,000, then it's going to print on target. And if it is greater than 5,000, it will be below target. But what about anything else? It will print needs review. So let us execute this block of code and see what it will give you. So when you run, you see that it has given you that it is on target, because we're talking about this variable here. So this variable is what we are testing in this block of code. So if we change this and write 1500, let us see what it will give us. So you run that cell so that the variable can hold the new value that you've just written there. Then you execute. So it will tell you need review. Reason, it is below 5,000. It is below 5,000. So between 5,000 and 10,000, it will tell you below target. Let's try and see. Let's try 7,000 here. Let's run that block of code. Let's run this block of code and it will tell you below target. So let's do maybe 77,500. What will it tell you? High performance. So basically that is how conditional if-else statements work. So we want to talk about two things: comparison operators and logical operators. You've seen that in the example that I gave earlier, I used a comparison operator greater than. You know that we have quite a number of operators. We have less than operators, we have greater or equal, less than equal, not equal. So those are the kind of operators that we want to look at. We also have what is called, or what are called, logical operators, like and, or, not. So when you talk about and operator, is that you have two conditions, and these conditions have to, and these two conditions have to be true. We have the or operator. You have two conditions, but either of the condition has to be true. Then we have the not, which you are negating the condition that you have. So let us just go through it. So here, as I said earlier, you have these comparison operators. You can be able to see them here. Note that the equal to is double equals. The reason is that we already looked at the equal sign as a way of assigning a variable value to a variable. And these are the and, not, or operators. So let's take, for example, these. You have like real data here. You have real data here. Let me put these at 25,000. Let me put these at 25,000. So, example like this, you're told that if sales is greater than 20,000, and so you see that we have a condition here and say that if sales is greater than 20,000 and the region is Nairobi, then it means that that is Nairobi high performer, and they should be given like bonus, so they should be reviewed for bonuses. So let's take, for example, that this was 15,000. So let's just run this and see first what that will give you. So you see, it will tell you that that is a Nairobi high performer, flag for bonus review. It will not pass, for example, 15,000. So when you do that, it will not tell you anything. Reason, you've not given it an alternative. If it fails in that, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to write else print something like both conditions need to be fulfilled. So when I write that, this is what it's giving you. But when I write it at 35,000 here, this is what it's going to give you. Why? Because it has satisfied the two conditions. If it does not satisfy the two conditions, this has 20,000 in Nairobi region, then that will not work. So let's do this. Let me comment this out and say, let's say maybe it was the OR condition, and you say that the OR condition either of the two has to be true for that condition to pass. So the salt here is 35,000, and you say that if salt is greater than 20,000 region is Nairobi, then print high performer. If both still the same, it's still okay, so it will pass. So it still passes. Even if I do 15,000, it means that one of the condition will not be satisfied. Which condition? This condition will not be satisfied, but this condition has been satisfied. So in your rules, in your if else statement, this condition has been satisfied, but this condition has not been satisfied. Let's see what will happen. Nairobi high performer, flag for bonus, right? What about if I say now, in the condition here, we say that this is Nakuru. What do you think will happen? So see this. SALS is greater than 20,000 and region is Nairobi. These are your business rules. But in the data that you have, what is SALS? SALS is 15,000. What is the region? The region is Nakuru. So when you run that, nothing will appear. Reason? It's because it does not satisfy any of those conditions. So if I do this else and say that either of the conditions have to be either have to be fulfilled. So when I run this, at least you're going to see this. So this is basically how the else if statement works. So let's quickly look at something a bit more advanced. So we have sales figures. So we're going back to what we talked about 2 videos before. We have sales figures and we've put them into a list, 8200, 14,500 and all that. And we have initiated an empty list. Actually, that can happen, and maybe this is something that I did not talk about, but you can actually initiate an empty list. So you just put the name that you want that list to look like. Then you remember when you talked about functions that you can use to add elements into a list and remove elements into a list. I remember we talked about append, we talked about pop. So when you're working with data, you can initialize an empty list. Then as you're working with the data, you can add the data into that empty list. So that is what we want to do here. So whatever you're seeing here, the categories, this is empty. But we have a list here, sales figures, that has elements or entities inside. So we want to do what I don't know if we talked about this. But let me just let me create something here to quickly take you through that. So when you're having these sales figures, you see that these sales figures it's a list of sales for different maybe days or months. So if we want to print each and every element in itself from this list, how do we do it? Talked about looping, and I think we'll talk about that in the next class. So when you do that, you say for cell in whatever you have here. So when you talk about for cell, you're just talking about we want to capture just a single element in the list. So you say for cell in sales figures, put that one. I want to print cell. So let's see what this will give you. So what I'm saying that what you're trying to do is you're trying to do what is called looping. you have a list, right? You have your shopping list. And in your shopping list, even before you go to do shopping, you want to look at each of those. You want to print out, or you want to look at each of those lists, the value of all that list, right? So here they say for each for cell in sales figures. So for cell in this list here, let's print cell. So cell will take in every, whatever has been separated by comma. So when you print it, you're supposed to see it like that. And this is what you're getting. This is what you're getting. So it means that you can be able to manipulate each and every value inside there. You can be able to manipulate each and every value inside the list and do something. You can be able to add, let's say add plus 100. Or let's say put something that will be very conspicuous. Look at what it has done. You manipulated each and every value inside that list because you've done what is called looping. So looping starts with for cell in sales figures, print cell plus the value that you want to do. So that is how you manipulate values inside a list. So I want to just go back here so that we're able to see what we really wanted to do there. Do that. So here we want to merge the two ideas of cells, of looping through the list, right? And applying conditional logic. So here you see we are saying for cell in sales figures, if cell is greater than 20,000, so append it in categories. So in the categories.append high. So what we mean is that in this empty list that you initialized before, what you say, you append these string high. Else if cell is greater than 12,000, you say medium, then anything else is low. So what do you expect to get here? This is 8,200. 8,200 is low. 14,200 is between 12,000 and 20,000. So that is medium and all that. So at the end of the day, you'll have another list that has strings, and it will give you like categories of the data that you have. So you started with values of sales figures, but now you've categorized them into different categories of high, medium, and low. Let's see what this will give you. So when you print that, you see it will give you low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Is basically where data science starts, or data analytics starts to become really intriguing. So you're starting with data that was a bit messed up, but you've applied some business rules because you just want to have a quick, or you wanted to have something that will give you like less cognitive load. You don't want to think a lot. I'm seeing a lot of figures. So you're having a value, you're having another list that will tell you that the figures are low. I mean, you've categorized them into categories that you want. So you've sort of cleaned the data a bit in a manner that can be more understandable. And you've seen, as we move on, we are always trying to introduce the concepts that we learned earlier, because every concept that we introduce, we are hoping that you'll be able to use it in the coming topics that we will be talking about. So here you've seen how we are using lists, how we are assigning variables, or how we are assigning variables. You've seen how we are using conditional logic together with for loops, together with lists, and creating something that is more understandable. So that is data analytics for you. And in the next video, we will be talking about for loops. Then we will finish up with what is called functions. Thank you.